Welcome to Startup Hacks, a We Global podcast. We explore the stories and secret strategies that women entrepreneurs use to save time and money when bootstrapping and building their businesses. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapinha, and today I'm excited to welcome my good friend, Kristi Kaylor. Kristi has been an innovator in the world of celebrity and influencer marketing for over 20 years. After years in TV, a dot-com startup with Jennifer Aniston, and running celebrity brands with Mandy Moore, Lindsay Lohan, and others, she opened Loft Entertainment, where she matches top talent and her brand clients such as NBC, Peacock Network, Mattel, IHOP, Applebee's, Coca-Cola, and the list goes on for content and innovative marketing. Welcome, Kristi.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today. I wanted to start by asking you if you wouldn't mind sharing with the audience a little bit about your personal background and history, where you grew up and how you found yourself in the entertainment business at whatever age you decided to dive in.
Oh, sure. Yes. So I grew up in Colorado and actually moved to Los Angeles when I was just 20 years old.
Wow.
So I just knew that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry. So I jumped in my car and moved out and basically started to pound the pavement and make a career for myself starting in the entertainment industry. Basically producing my first show on my credit cards that I ended up selling to Selling Entertainment, which was, I felt really lucky about. And then moving into sort of being in the TV movie space, which was kind of a fun space at the time. And that sort of jump-started my career into entertainment.
And were you always involved in celebrity marketing from the start, or did you start in a different area?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the show that I started on my credit cards was actually called Hiatus, and it was celebrities hanging out with their best friends doing what they love to do. And so I knew that I needed a show that had celebrities because I knew that would make me, people would notice me as a producer, and also that I would get some attention to be able to sell the show. So actually everything I've done in my entire career over 20 years has had a celebrity angle to it.
And have you found, people often say it's so difficult to break into that space, and first time out it certainly is. How did you get celebrities to pay attention to your series that you were developing?
So one thing that I always tell all entrepreneurs, and I use this strategy, if you will, when I was starting out, is kind of fake it till you make it, right? So I basically really just approached celebrities kind of by, I ran into like my mother's high school friend who happened to know Johnny Depp, who happened to know Christina Applegate, and I said, "Oh, I'm producing a show. Why don't you be in it?" And I wasn't producing a show. I just was like, "This is a great opportunity." So I kind of just was like, suddenly, pitching a show because I had an opportunity, and I took that opportunity, and then I was like, "I'll figure it out and make it happen." And that's what I did. So I always think, think big, think big, go big, and then you'll achieve that versus going. And I sort of went about it in a way that's non-traditional. And, basically it worked out in my favor.
And were you able to set it up as a pilot series? Is that you said you sold it to Sony?
Yeah, or just Selling Entertainment. So it was interesting. This is actually a whole other story, but I ended up meeting Aaron Sterling, who had 90210 on the air and Melrose Place on the air at Caesar's Palace at midnight when I went to a convention there. And I pitched him the show at midnight, and he bought it from me.
Wow.
So he was so he was actually, it was just literally like a lot of luck and a lot of chutzpah. And
wow.
And I pitched him, and he liked it, and he liked the fact that I was 20, even though, I was not supposed to be in the casino because you needed a fake ID. But anyway.
That's fabulous. And then, so then fast forward, a chunk of years, and I'm presuming that you were professionally working in the entertainment division. I think you were working for studios at the time, if I recall your story. At
Right.
what point did you start thinking about, maybe it's time for me to venture out and start my own gig?
So basically, I've been a serial entrepreneur my entire life. So
Mm.
I literally went from, selling my show, and then Aaron Spelling, was so gracious and introduced me to a lot of people in the industry. And I started selling lots of projects and really getting into the television space. And then when the internet happened, I wrote a business plan for an online network called Foxy, which was an online network for teenage girls. And that was and I signed up Jennifer Aniston as my spokesperson, and a lot of amazing women in Hollywood, and raised money and started this .com. And then from that .com, I went on to running brands for celebrities and starting brands with celebrities, and, just continuing to grow into, a 10 years time of running and building brands for talent. And then I opened up my agency, The Loft Entertainment, about 10 years ago, and really became, the matchmaker, if you will, of brands and celebrities, and influencers and brands.
So that's such an interesting story, and you've had so much fun along the way, it sounds like, as well, if I recall, which is always so great to have a passion that just really makes you jump out of bed in the morning. I'm sure it's a lot of hard work. So at Loft, when you launched, was it a fairly kind of innovative company approaching marketing from a different perspective, or were you kind of in the flow of trends?
So I launched the Loft Entertainment right after Lindsay Lohan and I had closed our business, 6126. And I launched it with utilizing the paparazzi because Lindsay, everywhere we went, we were chased by 60 paparazzi at the time. And we really learned how to, work and use the paparazzi to our benefit from a marketing perspective. So I opened up my agency basically doing stage paparazzi setups for brands. So I signed on brands like Coca-Cola and Mattel, and I would stage, photo shoots that were celebrities buying products at Target or wearing a Coca-Cola shirt on a bicycle, and those photos would then run in the online pop culture outlets as well as the weeklies like People Magazine, Us Weekly. And that actually is a business that continues on 10 years later. To this day, we all read those Us Weeklies and, the grocery store line. And we love seeing celebrities with, the products that they love and use. And I just sort of hire them to do that.
So does that mean every time you see kind of an actor in Malibu with a Starbucks cup looking surprised in the parking lot, he might not be surprised?
That's right. I know my friends are like, "You ruined Us Weekly for me." I know stars are no longer just like us, we pay them to do that. So, yes, so that's a very big business. And it's really interesting because it actually works well, and, people get exposed to really cool brands that they might not see.
Right. And how has your business changed now with influencer marketing and how popular influencers are with brands?
So yes, so when the internet, or when, social media really took it, came here by storm, if you will, we really added an entire division for influencer marketing across multiple platforms. So whether it's YouTube, Instagram, obviously TikTok is huge right now, especially with this pandemic. And all of these amazing platforms that are out there that you can create content on for brands, we utilize influencers, all the time to distribute the branded content. And I actually encourage the young entrepreneurs that I mentor to, keep that content creation up. and also, utilize the influencers and celebrities they have access to. It might be the local news reporter in their town or the local athlete or something, but micro influencers are just as important. So I think those platforms have really changed marketing a lot.
And do you see any trends moving forward in the next, if you had to look into your crystal ball, a couple years down the road, what do you see?
Yes. So I'm a firm believer that content is king, right? So wherever the platform is, whether it's television, whether it's radio, whether it's social media, YouTube, TikTok, Triller, whichever platform, right? That content, you can place that content on those platforms, right? So
right.
I'm a very big believer that you need to have a multiple platform strategy. You don't want to put all your eggs in TikTok. You don't want to put all your eggs in Instagram. You don't want to put all, because also this is the other thing. Everything changes every day. The algorithms change every day. So
right.
what's really, really important is to test what works for your brand. So if you're like a startup perfume company, if you will, and have better luck on Facebook than you do on Instagram, or better luck on TikTok than you do on Instagram story, or what have you. So I always say, try multiple platforms. Have those tactics that the big brands and the big companies use and just scale them down to fit you. I feel so fortunate that I work with like some of the biggest brands in the world, but the strategies and the tactics can be used for smaller brands, for startups with
right.
just, you just got to think big.
Right. Well, it's nice to hear that it is doable, right? I think that a lot of entrepreneurs who start a business that's kind of e-commerce driven, it's a little overwhelming because as you stated so clearly, and I started a company that's in the behavioral data analytics business, so I understand a lot about the algorithmic working of the social platforms, that it's their secret sauce, so you never really know from week to week how it gets tweaked, and especially if they're highly secretive, so you do have to kind of test it out to see how things have changed, how the engagement has changed, all of that. So for new people coming into the platform, you almost wish that there was like a consulting service that would say, okay, this week we're sending out a bulletin.
Right.
We have to turn right. We have to turn left. I think that's a good business for you.
Yeah, I know, right? I think, and I think what's interesting is like, I always, some entrepreneurs come to me and they're like, oh, I just have a small little business and, I don't know if it'll ever take, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Don't speak like that. People want to be in business and people want to help businesses that are the hottest next new thing. So let's change your mindset in the sense of like, you are the hottest next new thing, because if you believe it and you speak it, it will happen, right? And so no one wants to help a small little fledgling company. We want to help the hottest new big thing, right? And that's just like people don't want to have that, fear of missing out, right?
Right.
So, and that falls in social media as well. So any marketing platform, content marketing, social media, whether it's, experiential marketing, or, now obviously we don't have events because of COVID, but like if it's virtual events or, all of that mindset, you need to have your content reflect that, so that and that will help too with, growing your business and, again, like testing out the different platforms that work for you across all different marketing platforms. I mean, the exciting thing is there's so many places to market,
right.
And so, we want to take advantage of that, and, understand where that customer is and keep innovating in marketing.
Absolutely.
As a brand,
Yeah. Absolutely. So let me shift gears a little bit and ask you now a little bit, if you can remember when you were struggling back in the day, And what were some of the, hacks that you would use when you were bootstrapping your companies? And perhaps you still use them today, because I always think that startup hacks are really just about being economical and being smart and using your resources intelligently.
Right.
But if you could share, some of, whether it would be software or services, or if it was time management, or if it was like self-care, what would you do to kind of save time and money and still yet maintain a competitive edge while you were launching your businesses or maybe even scaling them?
Right, right. So one thing that I think is so important is really taking a look at your competition and the people that are reaching the same demographic you are trying to, and having great results at that with those, with that demographic. So I think that is as crazy as it sounds, like taking a beat to just really do some research and thinking, and I don't mean research for a long time because I move very quick at everything that I do, but just taking a beat and like looking like, okay, I'm launching this new water company. I only have $10,000, and how am I going to compete against Coca-Cola, who has, $1 billion? But the tactics themselves, look at what they're doing. Okay, maybe they hired, an influencer with 50 million followers, but you could hire an influencer with, 2,000 active followers and begin the growth, right? So mirror the tactics of people that are successful around you and that you like. So that's number one, really super important.
Yeah.
I also, I just think that's, and then as far as like, software or strategy, just make sure that you are in the know of the latest and greatest of what is available, right? So there's so many great, virtual streaming platforms. There's so many great, content marketing platforms for, doing blogs and sending out email blasts that are efficient. And I think looking again, like, if you look at some of your competition and then say, what are they using for their email blast? What are they using? And maybe get some tips that way that save time. And if they're at the same price as you, if or the same level as you, if you will, then you might get some ideas. So I would just research around and look at what other people are doing, and then obviously take what works for you and leave what doesn't.
Right, right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I actually have a very close friend who does a lot of videos on YouTube, and she did exactly that a few months ago. And I thought it was really smart. There was a woman on YouTube who was her direct competition, and she really started to study the content and the style of her videos, when she would post, how long they were, and she started to mirror her. And within a matter of weeks, her engagement went way up. So
Yeah,
I think it makes a lot of sense.
You're using someone else's research, of what's working, and it saves you time. And then, the other thing that I always, the entrepreneurs that I work with or meet or see, I feel like a lot of times there's always this, fear. A lot of times they're fearful of like really just jumping in and making it happen. And I always say, just push yourself, like from a strategy point, it's like, don't be fearful, think big, like embrace your side hustle, right? If this is like if you're starting in an entrepreneur gig and you still work at a corporate job, which there's plenty of those amazing entrepreneurs, but embrace that side hustle. And there's like no time but now.
Right.
Don't wait. Like I'm so bummed when I, meet people and they're like, oh, I really wanted to start this. It's like, why didn't you? That was genius. Start it. So I'm a huge advocate of, people just really just making it happen. And I know sometimes it's hard, or you're burnout, or you're feeling like you then, hit, or you can't catch a break. But listen, you can catch a break. Going back to like when I first moved here, I didn't know one soul. And then I found out like my mother's high school sweetheart happened to know a celebrity. I'm like, oh
Right.
my gosh, who would have thought? So I think you just have to, to unturn every rock and keep going.
Yeah.
Don't give up, because you can be as big as anybody else. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs just, skyrocket their business, and I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also helps when you have a great group of people around you supporting you and encouraging you. That's very important, for
Yeah, and
sure.
that's what's so great about your organization, in the sense of like, it's just so fabulous because it's so many great resources for young entrepreneurs or any entrepreneurs.
Yeah, yeah. Especially since when you're an entrepreneur, oftentimes your social group, they're not all entrepreneurs, so they really don't understand the struggle and the work and the lifestyle. So it is great to be with your
Yeah,
tribe. So
yeah, yeah.
I want to make sure before we run out of time that I sneak in another question, which is a little
Sure.
off base, but is so,
Okay.
I really want to hear what you have to say. So if you could wave a magic wand, what one thing that drives you crazy do you wish someone would find a solution for that would help your productivity and your sanity? Can be anything.
Ooh, okay. Oh, this is okay. So one thing. Well, okay. I mean, for me, I would love a technology that I can log on to, like an IMDb, like a database, where I can put in a list of like influencers or celebrities, and it automatically updates all of their social numbers at all times.
Mm,
So like that would be because it's so time consuming when you're putting like lists together, ideas together, right? Or like looking at, different, and you're basically looking at all the different celebrities, and you have to keep like an influencers, and there's so many influencers. I mean, there's so many influencers. So you have to constantly look at like what they're doing, what their latest, content is about, and what their, social media numbers are. And so if it was something like automatically updated, that would be insane. That is my magic wand.
that's awesome. So kind of like a Nielsen ratings, like at your fingertips 24/7,
Right.
right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. With all their latest information,
Well, we're
Because
going to
think
have
about
to
it, when
get
you look up a celebrity or an influencer, you have to go, like you have to go to their YouTube, you have to go to their TikTok, you have to go to their Instagram, you have to go to their Facebook, there's so many places to go to find out if that influencer is great for that brand.
right, right, 100% to be able to aggregate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, we're
That would be
almost
whoever does that. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt you. We're almost out of time, but I wanted to give you just a few seconds to just for entrepreneurs that are out there and listening, if there's anything that you would like to share with them, any small piece of advice that perhaps you haven't touched upon yet that you want to share, that you wish someone had told you when you were starting out in your business.
So don't leave marketing as the last thought.
Got it.
Don't like, a lot of people spend time coming up with the product and the distribution strategy or the idea or whatever it is. And then they're like, oh, how are we going to market it? Their marketing job is never done. It's about, constant motion. It has to be innovative every single day. And it's something that needs to be done every single day for your business.
Yeah.
It's telling the world that you and your brand is a rock star, right? That's what it is. So marketing is number one. You could build something great, but if no one knows about it, what are you going to do?
Right. It's a hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Don't put that at the forefront, right? Put that at the forefront.
That's very good advice. I could use that advice myself. I'm learning my third time around. So thank you. Well, Kristi, thank you so much for being on Startup Hacks. I really appreciate it. I know how busy you are. Your insights were so helpful. And I'd like to just close by asking you to share with our listeners, if you would like to share an email or a website, if people wanted to reach out to you, how would they do so?
Oh, sure.
Or if they want to learn about your company.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. So it's www.theloft, LOFTENT, like entertainment.com. And then my email is Kristi at theloft, LOFTENT.com.
That's perfect. And it's Kristi with a K.
Yes. Yeah, it's
Yes.
Kristi. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much. Tune in next week for more startup hacks. We have another great show you won't want to miss on the secret female founder strategies that can save you time and money when building your business. This podcast is brought to you by Women Entrepreneurs Global, the first startup studio and digital do-it-yourself startup platform for women. For more information on our guests, this podcast, and many other female founder programs, please visit womenentrepreneurs.global. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapinha. See you next week.